Welcome to An Awful World, but not awful like you think.
This is the show where we discuss whether we would have discovered important advances in a world exclusively full of Haylies and Libbys. I'm Haylie.
And I'm Libby. Today we're talking about royalty. We're going to give you the tea on royalty.
Yes.
So you're going to hear all about it and whether we would have it in an awful world. I'm just curious, Haylie, initial thoughts. Royalty in an awful world? Yes, no. We'll see if your mind changes at all throughout the course of this conversation.
Part of me thinks no.
Okay.
Honestly.
I am also leaning strongly no.
Okay.
But I've had a few conversations, a few episodes where I've like come around to the idea of other things. So who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
My first thought though is just we would probably have people who are in charge because we need people in charge.
Yes.
But
it's more like leadership.
Yes. I think we would have more just leadership, not so much a ruler or a monarchy or something like that.
Yes, I agree. Okay, well, so jumping in, I think this is kind of interesting. I say that so often, but I think a lot of things are interesting. So royalty or like the idea of like rulers, monarchy is really not that old. It's only like medieval times in Europe, which is like, 14th century-ish.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, that's right. So that's when it came about because there's a feudal system in a lot of places in Europe. And Europe was one of the true feudal systems in the world originated in Europe, which apparently there's also like an Indian feudal system in India, but I don't know as much about that.
Okay.
Because really, I barely know about the feudal system in Europe. Do I really understand what it means? Not totally. But basically, it's it started out with a few very powerful landowners, right? Like they've acquired a lot of land, whether that be through force or purchasing it or whatever. But by the time you get so much land like that and you're only one person, it's a hard time to regulate it, maintain it,
keep other people off of it.
Exactly. You're following. You're into the feudal system. So then they would hire people or pay people to control. Lords would be the next thing that would oversee things in the land. And then they would take a profit of whatever was produced on the land. So if a lord has, farming, then the king, presumably in this situation, is going to take a profit from that. So that's kind of where it started out. And then it became just those lords having children or kings having children, and then those families inheriting those things over time. So not that old, not even 1,000 years, really, which I thought was fascinating. And I just wonder why didn't that happen until then?
But weren't there rulers before then? Not royalty,
right?
But rulers.
Yes, definitely rulers, but not this idea of royalty.
Yeah.
Of because I think before that, it definitely didn't follow a familial line necessarily.
Yeah.
Some places did for sure. But this idea of a royal family, and I think a big difference too, is having a lot of political power.
Yes.
Or influence.
Something I think is fascinating about royalty is they're our bloodline was chosen from God. And I'm was it? Or did you make that up?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say. And then they were all so stuck in their bloodline because they want to keep the bloodline pure. And then you just, all the incest and it leads to all the disfigurement.
Yes.
And I'm what would fix that?
Not
going outside the bloodline.
Yes, exactly.
Surprise.
Which was something I wrote down as an interesting issue of because there's so much inbreeding. I know that you and I have talked about the Habsburg jaw before. Yes. And if you're listening and you've never seen the Habsburg jaw.
Sorry, I just did it.
Haylie just did it and it was iconic. But if you've never seen what a person with the Habsburg jaw looks like, you should look it up. But it was basically a royal family that inbred so much that they got this horrible jaw that jutted out, just this huge underbite.
Yeah.
Just from so much incest and inbreeding because they just don't go very far from there. Everyone's always marrying their cousin.
Which is yuck. I have a lot of cousins and there's not one of them that I've been you know what?
If
I want to sleep with you.
If rules weren't rules. No.
big time yuck.
But it wasn't like, obviously, it wasn't like I want to sleep with you. It's like, we're keeping the family line pure. You're going to marry this person and you're going to fucking like it.
Yeah, but also, I don't know if I can say this on a podcast. They got to
like each other a little?
Yeah, because how else are you going to...
I mean, you would hope, Haylie,
achieve
things. You would hope. But if you watch Game of Thrones, I think you would be a little disturbed.
I watched the first episode because everyone's like, oh, you would love this. And you kind of look like Khaleesi. And then I watched the first episode and there's incest. And they try to murder a small child. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. I love messed up things, but this is too far.
You're just not hip to the ways of the ancient world. Okay.
Yeah.
It was not nice. It was not a nice place to be.
I know. And it feels really okay to not be hip to that.
You know what? I agree with you. I'm just saying that in terms of knowing about the inbreeding, we won't even go there. But I think it's very interesting that And I'm here to say right off the bat immediately, if we did have royalty and rulers in an awful world, there would be none of that bloodline shit.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
We don't believe in that. That's weird. I think that's very strange. I'm just of the opinion that we all somewhere along the line, we're related because we are, because we're all just people. But I'm not going to be marrying my cousin.
No.
And I don't. The whole pride in the bloodline thing is very strange to me.
Yeah.
So, I'll just say that about it. Hey, listener, if you're in the Indianapolis area looking for warm photos of you and your loved ones, you're going to want to check out Hey Blondie. Hey Blondie is committed to capturing people from all walks of life through all stages of life, from a new baby to graduation. Check out HeyBlondiePhoto.com for more information and give them a like on Facebook and Instagram at Hey Blondie Photo. It was actually, monarchy specifically, the most common form of government until the 20th century.
Wow.
Only to be overtaken by republics, which is what the United States is. As some people may know, other people may not.
I mean, it's in the pledge.
Lots of people think it's a democracy, but it's really not. Welcome to America. This is America. Don't get you tripping up.
I mean, I don't know how you don't know that, though, because it's in the pledge.
To the Republic?
Yes, it's in the pledge, and you have to say it every day in school, even though I didn't, because I don't believe in that shit. I'm not in a cult. I'm here to tell you. So I will not be participating.
I think people just especially kids, you just learn it. You're not really listening to or paying attention to what the words actually mean type of thing.
I remember being taught though, this is what this means.
Really? I don't know that I ever was.
I think when we learned the pledge in school, they were like, now this is the pledge. We're going to recite it. This is what all of it means.
Interesting. Your school did better. I feel in my school, it was more akin to the song Blurred Lines, where it's just it's catchy. Blurred lines. And later you're wait, what are you saying?
Yeah, you're wait a second.
Wait, roll that back.
Yes. And you're oh no, because I loved that song. And then it was a little while later and I was oh no.
Oh no. This isn't good.
So I still hum it, but
but it's just one of those things where you're just and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible. But we didn't say it like that, of course. But
maybe it would have done better in my school. If
I'm just saying, you said anything to song and I will remember it.
Oh, yeah, same.
It's the reason I know so much American history right now is literally because of Hamilton and only because of Hamilton.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's how one time in high school, I was the only one in my class to get a 100% on a grammar test. And then my teacher made me stand up in front of everybody and asked me why I did so well on the test. And it was very uncomfortable. But I said, Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, do you want me to sing the songs about pronouns or interjections? Interjections is the best one.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
That's right.
Or obviously I made it through law school because I know I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
I'm just, I didn't learn any of that in law school, actually. I don't really know much about that, but it's a lot of back and forth. But anyway, actually, just briefly while we're on this topic of grammar, do you remember the Shirley method?
No.
Okay, maybe they didn't do it in your school, but I feel like it was like a standardized like Indiana thing.
What was it?
It was like a grammar method situation, like phonics, but for grammar. And you would learn it in the 4th grade, and you'd have this like big book, the Shirley method. Like, you'll have to look it up. But anyway,
I don't know what that is.
That's neither here nor there.
All right.
So I thought that was really interesting, though, that until literally the 1900s, it was the most common form of government.
Yeah, that's wild.
In the world.
I don't love the system we have today, but also I just don't need a bloodline who's so out of touch with everything and so rich to tell me what to do.
Yeah. I'm glad that we don't have a monarchy in the United States, because obviously, why would we? Like, that's what we came over here to escape, was monarchy. And that would be weird if we had that. But
except for also they're like, oh, we came here for religious freedom, but apparently other countries are like, they came here because they're religious extremists, and I'm like,
You're
that
like,
sounds more
things
correct.
Are adding up here.
It sounds like that's the true version.
Haylie, that's what we call revisionist history.
Yes,
and you'll learn so much about it throughout your life, kids. If you're listening, no, I'm kidding. So yeah. Nowadays, though, they're mostly like what they call constitutional monarchies. So like the British royal family, they have almost no political sway.
Yes, because they have the prime minister and they're kind of just like public figures.
Yeah. So that's really like what it's turned into, which I think is interesting. And I don't think that there will ever be a resurgence of like royalty or royal families ever again, because it's just so problematic. Like, one of the other issues that I wrote down besides inbreeding in the Habsburg jaw was like violent revolts. And maybe you've heard of a little girl named Marie Antoinette.
Yes,
she wasn't really a girl. She was a woman. You have been to her house, which is so fascinating. But yeah, I mean, like, that is the results of extreme monarchies, monarchical societies, monarchies.
Yeah.
That's the result. You'll probably get your head cut off at some point.
But like, what a life up until then. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, what a life, what a way to go, what a legacy. I mean, I'm sure her spirit is somewhere being like, you know, worth it.
Yeah, worth it. Worth the meat cake, bitches.
Honestly, if you ever go to Versailles, this is the one thing. It was wild. And when you're there, you're like, no wonder everybody murdered them. But the Palace of Versailles is insane. But then you walk all the way to the back, which is miles away. And you walk all the way back there. And Marie Antoinette had her own like smaller house and a whole farm. And people worked on the farm and lived in this like little village. It's like a legit little village back there, so that she could pretend she was a normal person.
That's crazy.
Like, she hired people to work in this village and be there so that she could pretend that she wasn't.
That is nuts.
Yes, it's insane.
Which I think is so interesting. So like,
just get a divorce.
Right.
Go
just
live a normal life.
Or just, I don't know if people don't understand like what they're signing up for, I think. That's a very rare occasion that somebody's signing up for it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, so many people like give like Meghan Markle and Harry shit.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting, because Harry, I'm very sympathetic to him and his position, because I can't imagine what it would be like to grow up as a prince, knowing full well that you're never going to inherit the crown.
Yeah.
But that you still have to sort of do the like pomp and circumstance of like being royalty. That's not fair. That sucks.
Yeah.
But it's always, for the crown, for the crown, for the crown. And I'm like, but for what? Like,
honestly,
like you don't have any political sway. You're just like talking heads, basically. Yes. Like, it's very fascinating to me. But like, you know, somebody like, obviously like Kate Middleton is someone who was like in, you know, high society.
Yes, she was like 100% raised to be something like that. Yes, to be like, you're going to marry a lord or a prince or something or somebody. Like that. You will be in that society.
Hopefully, at that point, she knew what she was getting into, and like, this is what your life is going to be.
Yes.
But I'm just really sympathetic to Harry and Meghan, and I don't really understand why people give them so much shit.
No.
And I think it's like, it's fair of them to like, this is getting just slightly off topic, but I think it's very fair of them to like ask for like protection from the royal family still, because again, they like, Harry didn't choose that.
No, he was just born into that, and he's like, and I don't want to be a part of it, and I'm trying to move on, but people are cutting our fence and trying to get into our home and trying to kill us. And so I think the least you could do, if you don't pay for our house, you don't pay for our lives, if you could just like make sure people don't kill us, that'd be great.
That would be appreciated.
And they're like, no, fuck you.
I know, it's so weird to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just like, yeah, Diana and like people like that like knew what they were getting into.
Yeah. Diana was so young though.
She was, but
so I don't know. It's a little harder.
But I don't even say that like, oh, she should have known better, so much as she handled every situation with such grace. But yeah, anyway, I could talk about the royal family, the royal family, of course, the British royal family, all the live long day, and how we are so fascinated with them. And I do think it's because this concept now is so foreign to us.
Yes.
Whereas it didn't used to be. I mean, like, you watch something like Bridgerton, or, you know, any kind of, you read Pride and Prejudice, there's all this stuff about, you know, like sort of high society and all of that thing. And that's very fascinating to us because that's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah, no. You're not just like wearing fancy dresses and parading around for other people's entertainment to like, and like playing matchmaker. Yeah. You're like, even if I have money, I still have to go to my job every day and like make my own dinner.
It also kind of takes me back to our conversation about like collective living and how I think it would drive me absolutely cuckoo bananas if people were constantly like, quote unquote, calling on me at my house all the time, like, such and such is here to see you.
Yes.
That's rude.
Yes.
Don't show up without letting me know that you're coming.
Honestly, send a note first.
Right. Do something. Ask if I even want you to come over. But that was such like a norm for them. Like, oh, this person is calling on you. Like, they'd like to see you or whatever.
Yeah.
Very, very foreign concept to me. And I don't like it.
Yeah. No.
So, in my opinion, you know, no royalty or monarchy in an awful world. And I think that is just because neither one of us really has the type of attitude that we're like better than other people for any reason.
Right.
You know, there's nothing about like our socioeconomic status, our color of our skin, anything that would make either one of us think that we're better than somebody else so much that like people should serve us and like, you know, we're important figureheads in this non-functioning system.
Yeah, no. And I don't know how people get that into their head. And they're, you know, they say that, well, our bloodline was chosen by God or something. And I'm like, I just, don't believe that. So somebody just said it and everybody just believes you're right. But I don't know how you convince a bunch of people that it's so okay that you have all of this money and you get to tell everyone else what to do, but you don't know anything about their lives or how they live or what they need because you have an overabundance of everything. So you think that even though people are dying in the streets, that everything's just honky-dory and that you get to live your life. And I just totally disagree with that. And I don't think that there's any version of me that would agree with it.
Right.
I don't, you know, if we were the only people on earth were Haylies and Libbies, and from the beginning, I don't think there's any version of a Haylie that's going to be like, yeah, I could live this life and tell everybody what to do and be totally chill with it. I'm like, I could live the life, but I would feel horrible inside.
It would be weird.
Know?
I felt horrible the one time I sat in first class and the people were boarding the plane. I was like, I can't do this. Like, these people are looking at me and like, I don't have like, it's not even like I have a lot of money or like anything. I just like very fortunate to be able to ride first class this one time. And these people are staring at me like I'm evil and I feel evil. But yeah, I just don't think that like, I think to answer your question about like, how do you convince people that you're somehow, you know, that you're the chosen bloodline of God or whatever. I think that came out of people feeling like they needed a sense of leadership and direction.
Yeah.
And a person who owns a lot of land must be smart and powerful. And so they should just be the one in control.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think eventually we'll talk about cults and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a very similar thing, in my opinion, is that it's people who are missing something in their lives that are seeking desperately some sort of something to explain their lives and their, the issues that the emptiness that they experience in their life or whatever. And then feeling so connected to this group of people because like, I'm sure there are people out there who are still wild fanatics about the royal family.
Oh, yeah. It's insane.
But I think we'd have to look it up. I think that there's a large part of like British society that's just like about the royal family, just like they don't matter.
Yes, but they're called like royalists or royal sympathizers. Because there's this girl I follow on TikTok who her like degree is in some sort of history or something like that. And so she's just like fascinated by royal families and things like that. And so her TikTok, she normally talks about like the work they're doing or the clothing that they wear, or like anytime they bring out any of the royal jewels, she's like, oh, we saw this crown and it hasn't been worn in, 20 years. And it
fascinating,
but it is kind of interesting because you're like, this hasn't been seen in so long. And like, here's where it's from and here's why you haven't seen it. And so it's a lot of that stuff. So I follow along because I'm just like, I want to see the jewels. And I like the clothing, but she's like, I don't care about the royal family. I'm just fascinated to like watch what they're doing. She's like, but people threatened like my full-time job and tried to get me fired because I wouldn't shit talk Meghan Markle and things like that. She's like, people are insane about being obsessed about the royal family. And I'm like, they don't even do anything anymore.
They don't. They just like attend events.
Yes.
And look pretty.
Yes.
For sure. Which I think is a draw for so many people. I mean, it obviously is. We're fascinated with it as a society. Like, think about what a huge moneymaker for, a young age demographic in this country is Disney princesses. Mm-hmm. We're obsessed with Disney princesses. Yes. We, little girls love to fantasize about being a princess and wearing the pretty dress and the crown and the tiara or whatever, a sash, whatever it is. Like, of course, we eat that shit up. Yeah. But like what those movies and things don't really reflect is like the true lifestyle of like doing a lot of things that you don't want to do. Yeah. Which they do touch on it briefly of, like, I want to be my own person type of thing. Yes. But I feel like it doesn't ever end up like they're doing that sort of thing. No. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like, I want to be a Disney princess. I don't want to be a real life princess. Yeah. But I want to be a Disney princess.
I want to be Ariel.
I want to have a carriage that was originally a pumpkin. And I want every fluffy dress under the sun. Yes. And I want shoes that are made of glass but don't hurt my feet. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And to just like wake up and little birds help me get ready. And those birds aren't scary. Like, these are the things that I want. I don't want like to have to make all my decisions based on what people who are on death's door tell me to do. And I don't want to have to name my child George Louis something the 18th. Right. Like, I don't want to do that. No. I would like to choose the names I want to pick. The end.
And here's where I think it really comes back to an awful world of us being anti-royalty. This just occurred to me is that we're both people who very much dislike being told what to do.
100%.
Like, I am not about that. In fact, if you tell me what to do, I'm probably going to do the opposite. Mm-hmm. Just because you told me to do that. I don't like that.
Yes. Unless I specifically ask you.
Right.
Then you can tell me. But if you're going to come up to me and say, I don't like the way you're doing this, do it this way, my way's better, you're wrong. Even if you're actually correct, now you're wrong.
Now you're very wrong.
Don't talk to me ever again. Don't even look in my direction.
And it is very much like, well, this is the way we've always done it. Like, well, I don't care.
My least favorite argument.
I know. It's a stupid argument because what if the way we've always done it is not right?
Right.
Or good for anybody? Yes. Like, do you really think it's good for those people to like be born into that kind of lifestyle? Those kids, they'll never have, you would question every friendship you ever have, every, relationship, every romantic relationship you ever have. Is this person after, my name, my money, your life will never be normal.
Right.
And I think it's unkind, honestly, to children to like throw them into that.
Yes.
Without giving them the option. But it's just so planted in that, like, this is the bloodline thing that what can you do?
Yeah, I know. It's wild.
It is wild.
It's insane. But then I also don't understand other kind of rulers as well. Like the type of rulers that just take over your land and they use violence to control. I don't understand that either. So I don't think we'd have those type of rulers either, like dictators, things like that. I don't understand the mindset that you are going to rule all of these people with fear because the same thing. How will you ever know if someone really likes you? You don't.
And to me, it's more important to know that I like have like true like valued relationships in my life than to own a bunch of land and things and all of that. That's just not, honestly, Haylie, I think it's a little bit of a man thing.
Oh, 100%.
I say that quietly because there are two men in the room with us and I don't think they're listening super intently.
Awkward.
But I do think I don't understand the desire of like, there's a Bruce Springsteen lyric I'm going to hit you with.
All right, let's hear it.
It goes, the poor man want to be rich. The rich man want to be king. And the king ain't satisfied until he rules everything. Where it's just like constantly got to be grabbing for more. I want more power. I want more money. I want more. I don't get that. I don't understand that. I am perfectly happy living I want to be comfortable, right? Like I want to be able to go on vacation and enjoy, the nice dinners and things that I like to do. But I don't need like $50 billion.
No.
I don't know what any single person could do with $50 billion.
They can't. And that's the thing. That's what drives me nuts. There are things that I want more of. I want more relaxation time.
Yeah.
I want more time with my friends. I
want to read more books.
Yes. I want more pets.
Yeah.
I want to pet more of other people's pets.
Right. I want more free time.
I want more chocolate.
I want to sew more.
Yes. I want to eat more junk food without gaining more weight.
These are the things that we want more of.
Yes.
Not power and money.
No.
Which I think that's why I'm very convinced that I think that we both understand that there is a need in any society for leadership.
Yes.
There has to be someone sort of like at the helm directing things the way that they need to go. But I don't think that needs to be a person that's like, money grubbing and power hungry and all of those things. And I think that's like, honestly, where we've ended up in our society. Even our republics that we have.
Yes,
in the United States, best example. I think that most people could agree that any person that is a politician, especially a politician striving to be a president, is maybe not the greatest person.
No.
Even
when I feel like they just start out as a good person and they're like, we need better people in politics because it's so evil and things like that, then I feel like you just still get suckered into it.
Well, because I think part of it is in this day and age, which again, this is like, I feel like we could totally have an episode on politics and like specifically the bipartisan system that we have in the United States. But I think that part of the problem is that so many people have to sort of compromise some of their strongest beliefs to fit into a box for people to be like, okay, I'm on board with voting for that person. And at that point, when you start compromising your beliefs, I mean, do you really have any principle? Do you know?
Exactly, because then where does it end?
Yeah, and I just feel like
compromising.
Like people that lack principles are typically not great people. So I don't know. It's just like, it's like one bad thing begets another. Like it just continuously gets worse.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like we'd get to that at all.
No, I don't think so either. I think we would definitely have some sort of leadership. I don't think they would be any sort of like monarchy. I don't think we'd have dictators. No. I don't think we would have any sort of someone who's like, I'm the ruler. Right. They're just like, I was put in charge.
Right. But like, I'm still going to take care of myself like a normal person would.
Yes.
Like, I don't need people serving me 24/7. Like,
right. I feel like maybe we'd have like a leadership team.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
An oligarchy, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's better.
I think so too. And I feel confident that we're we're not violent people, so we're not acquiring, a lot of things through the use of violence.
No, there's just no need for that.
No.
And we're talk it out.
We're Haylies and Libby's are, we like to think, reasonable people.
Yeah.
Look, I like to say, if the whole world thought like us, then it would be great. But unfortunately, the whole world does not. And I also frequently like to say that if the world was run by women, it would operate like a Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. Everybody'd be happy. Everybody would have delicious chicken in their bellies. Things would move smoothly. But that's not the world we live in. So that's why
unfortunately,
you should come visit us weekly on Fridays in an awful world.
Where it's really not that awful.
It's not that awful at all. So yeah, conclusion. I don't have anything else to say about royalty other than I think that that's not our vibe. And my mind was not changed during this conversation.
No, mine either. I think it was actually much more solidified.
Yeah.
Because at first I'm like, I do love a castle.
I know.
I do love
we like all
a
the
crown.
pretty things that come with it, right?
Mm-hmm. But couldn't we all just have like a little bit of that?
Yes, just a little.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
If we each just had one beautiful crown.
Yes.
I think I could live with that.
Look, do I think weekly about Anastasia? Maybe. Because I love that movie and I love her yellow dress with the little blue sash. Mm-hmm. And I freaking love the crown that she wears. Mm-hmm. But like the rest of it. But the castles, I want the castle too.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in architecture, I'm sure.
Ooh, great point. Well, thanks for listening. Come join us next week and another time, hopefully to talk about architecture. Yes. But not next week.
No, but sometime, eventually.
We'll see you then.